John, we're less than a month away from NFL free agency.
Yes, we are.
Does Taylor Decker owe the Lions a decision in the next 30 days?
So, for context, the dates are 9th of March is legal tampering. The 11th is when free agency begins and everybody can sign on the dotted line. Does Taylor Decker owe the Lions a decision? He owes them his thoughts at this time, his feelings of where he's going to be at that time. And the Lions, in turn, need to share the same. By saying that, I mean, they're going to look at the draft and free agency, and they're going to say, okay, well, we're drafted at 17. Do we believe that we can get the tackle, or are there going to be 3, 4? Is there only one tackle that they would want in the first round that could replace Taylor Decker? Is there going to be one of them there at 17? And if that is their plan for who's next after Taylor Decker, then no, he doesn't owe them a decision by the time free agency starts. But that's a bit of an unknown because, hey, somebody could jump the Lions.
I was going to say, it's hard to
to make that. But that's why I want to know, how many of those tackles do they believe if they're going to draft the left tackle, who is it? If they're going to draft the right tackle and move Penei Sewell over, like all of those different things, they need to share that with Taylor Decker and say, hey, take your time. We're going to take a tackle in the draft. We're not going to address one in free agency. It's going to cost us too much. Whatever.
Well, I just know the Lions' cap situation is currently not good. They'll restructure some deals, Goff being the most obvious. They'll free up some space, but they want to know what they need to address in free agency. They need to know if they need to address tackle this offseason. They need to know from Taylor Decker.
They need to declare how they're going to address those. If they're not going to address it in free agency, then he has time. If they want to address it in free agency, then he needs to let them know now.
I just want to avoid the Ragnow situation. I think we're all scarred from that. And I think the team needs to act a little more aggressively. They could go to him and say, Taylor, with all due respect, we can save $17 million by making you a post-June cut. We're going to do that. If we don't need to wait for your decision. We're not going to be held hostage by your decision.
I think he has earned the right for them to communicate with him and tell them their plans. And if it's, hey, really appreciate what you've done with the injuries, with your just the reliability, availability, we need to find your replacement. And we are going to, by doing that, we are going to cut you. We're going to designate you June 1.
They could be aggressive and proactive and get in front of this instead of being left in the lurch because the player is uncertain. And John, I can't talk to Taylor Decker right now, but I can talk to someone who played offensive tackle in the NFL. If you had to try to put yourself in the shoes of like, when do you as a player know if you're going to come back for next season?
I would know by March 1st. I would know because they had an extended time this year. It wasn't like they were playing into the postseason. So you had basically January and February to talk to all the doctors and get all the second, third, fourth opinions that you need. You've had a chance to have those conversations with your wife, with your agent, with the team, and make the best decision possible for yourself. And then in turn, because it is a team game, you also want to make sure that you say what you're feeling at the time. And you may say, hey, I'm 95% in. And then the team has to look at it and go, well, what did we hear from Frank? Yeah. Was he 50-50? Which I think he was more 50-50. And I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Yeah.
But I would think by the 1st of March, that's when I would know, yep, I'm going to give this another go. Because if you are, you've got to be working out. You've got to get back into what am I going to do to maintain my athletic ability, my agility, my footwork, my strength. I've got to be making those decisions now because I can't make that decision in June having done nothing and say, I'm going to be back.
So that's interesting. So if it's March 1st and he reasonably could know what condition my body's going to be in for next season, the team would have a week from that to then make their decisions for free agency.
Yeah,
they could act on it a week later. Because I think you're spooked from two fronts. You're spooked because of what Frank did to you last year, and you're spooked because of the way that Taylor has openly discussed retirement. So, and I appreciate his honesty. He didn't have to speak publicly and share as much as he did, but if I'm the team, like, I am factoring that in, and I am terrified of the idea that you would tell me, yeah, I think I can go, and then in June, yeah, you know what, damn, it's just not going to hold up the way I thought it was. You can't be put in that position.
Here's what the Lions also need to be doing is, all right, hey, you got your second, third opinion. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, let's see
and
it.
We are going to see, okay, what's the shoulder look like? What are some of the other issues that you've had? What does it look like? And do we believe that it's manageable? I'm not going to say fixable because nothing is fixable at this point of his career, but is it manageable? Do we reasonably think that we can get 14 games, 15 games, whatever the number is, and then they have to make that decision again. All right, are we willing to bank on Taylor Decker for 14 games?
Well, that's the key is, do you even trust that he'll play all 17? He can't practice during the week, and how much is really left? How much meat is on the bone when you get to January of the following season? John, how would you feel about this if they just said, you know what? We're taking the guesswork out of it. Frank, don't text us. Don't let us know. Or Frank, Taylor, don't let us know. See, it's already slipping into what they did to him last year. How would you feel if the Lions just said, we're making the decision for you? We don't feel you can play 17 games. We can't be left in a limbo. Even if you're 95% sure, 5% is too risky given what's at stake for this football team. We wish you the best of luck if you want to play somewhere else. If you choose to retire, we'll support you 100%. But we're not playing you next season. We're moving on.
Well, the interesting thing about professional sports is how many people's jobs are on the line. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that, Dan Campbell's on the hot seat, and if they don't make it to the NFC Championship game, he should be gone. Like, that's ridiculous. Right. But if you miss out on the playoffs because your offensive line is ineffective again, all of a sudden now it is, hey, Brad Holmes, it's his front office. It's all of those individuals. You need to make the decision for the entirety of the franchise and for winning.
Yeah, the more we talk about this, and we want to hear from you guys, 248-539-9797, I find myself more in the position of take control if you're Brad Holmes. Take control of a shaky situation. You make the decision.
Well, and so, yes, there's the business side of it, because if you don't win, eventually you get fired. Mm-hmm. And it's you have to pick up your family and leave, your assistant coaches, and then the domino effect of somebody else coming in and their families are moving. Like, you have to account for that. And not really the ones that are going to be moving in. It's the ones that are under your leadership right now, and the wins and the losses, which ultimately decide the job. But there's also the human element. It's, how do I handle the relationship that Dan has with Taylor Decker, that Brad Holmes has with Taylor Decker, that it sets the tone for the rest of the team as well. So there's a lot of factors involved. There needs to be ultimate communication between franchise and, whether it's coach, general manager, it's the medical staff, and said player.
Okay, I'm going to oversimplify this. If you cut Taylor Decker post June 1 designation, you can use that money to pay Tyler Linderbaum or Connor McGovern. That's an oversimplification. It's probably not dollars to dollars, but it's close. Mm-hmm. I can take a question mark and I can put a proven commodity who I trust to anchor the center of my offensive line. I can restructure Goff, and I can use that money on a tackle if I so choose, or on a defensive lineman if I so choose, and then I can draft the opposite at 17. Is that not the way to handle this?
It's
I know that's
the
oversimplifying.
Most logical way.
Yes. It doesn't always work that way. Maybe you can't get the guy you want at 17, or there's not a free agent tackle that you trust to slot in. So,
or I mean, there's as many unknowns in free agency as there is in the draft, and the unknown in free agency is you may have identified 4 tackles that you want to go after. Well, there's 31 other teams. Yeah. Now they all don't need a tackle, but of those 31 other teams, who is willing to overpay a tackle and pay them $5 million more a year? Because we're talking about silly money at this time versus what you're willing to pay or what you can pay.
Right. So let's say there's 8 of the 32 teams that need a tackle, 8 of the other 31, and 2 of them are bad teams with a ton of cap space. And right. They go, we got money to burn, baby. We need a tackle.
Yeah, and hey, we need to go protect. We're New England. We need to go protect our quarterback. and we're going to move Compton inside, and we're going to go get a tackle. Like that, those are the type of decisions that are unknown to you.
Tex says we should absolutely cut Decker, sign Rasheed Walker and Tyler Linderbaum. Decker's money pays for one of them. They're both 26, heading into their prime. Resets the Lions' offensive line with Sewell and Ratledge solidified for 4 to 5 years. We'd also steal a good tackle from the Packers, then draft all defense. The dream scenario is Decker retires and Ragnow comes out of retirement for 1 more year. I don't
see that happening.
Quick phone call. Joe in Mount Clemens. You're on 97.1.
Hey, guys, a lot of what I hear this morning is we're talking about, instead of a business, but like they said yesterday on the show, a multi-billion-dollar business, we're talking about feelings in business. And earlier somebody said, well, it's not realistic to look at, if Dan Campbell doesn't get to the championship game with this team this year, he shouldn't be fired. Well, yeah, he should be. Brad Holmes should have been gone after we didn't make the playoffs. Should have been gone the previous year when we were out and won. We were in the championship game, Frisco, 20 minutes away. I'm sitting on my couch saying, we're going to Super Bowl. And then I'm going to bed saying, damn, no, we're not. And then next year we come back. We're out in one game. Why? Brad Holmes hung on to draft picks. He didn't move. He didn't fill any injury spots except with, Zarius. And Zarius isn't even in the league, I don't believe, anymore. He did nothing in the offseason to upgrade the defensive end, the corners, the safeties. There's not a reliable QB2. And, yeah, I like Dan Campbell, too. I like the hell out of Dan Campbell. Talked to him at the AC/DC concert. Great guy. He's got a job to do, and that job is to win a Super Bowl. And we have regressed in 3 years back to where we were as an 8-8 team.
Right, but what John was saying flippantly is
championship game or he's fired.
Oh, so if they don't make the NFC title game, you're firing Dan Campbell. If they win the division and win 2 playoff games, you're firing him.
Does Brad Holmes go with them?
You're on notice.
Oh, that's a different Joe. That's a different
2 years ago.
Okay, well, there's a different argument between on notice and you'd fire him, and he started to walk back there a little bit.
Clean house, start over.
John, I'd have no issue if you want to say they're on notice, right? If they're going backwards 3 years in a row and call it 4 years in a row, whatever it ends up being, yeah, you're on notice.
Yes.
But to flippantly say they could win the division in 2 playoff games, but I'd fire them anyway?
Yeah.
Come on. Come on.
Yes.
We got Heather's News and the 2 Grand Slam next, 97.1.